premiere of Reign of the Supermen. You can go home and watch it again on a digital tonight. You can get it on Blu-ray 4K, Blu-ray combo pack, DVD, you name it, tomorrow. You can probably go over to Best Buy late tonight if you can find it right there. And later on this year, we will be putting out a combined film of Death of Superman and Reign of the Supermen with some extra footage that you did not see here. I'm going to get right to it. Yeah, it's a good thing. And the guys that are going to be, the filmmakers that are going to be here, you're going to see. They put their hearts into this. So, yeah, definitely give them applause. Let's start by giving applause to, when I call your name, take the last seat and come forward. Our writers for this film, Tim Sheridan and Jim Creed. The man behind the character designs, you know him from Young Justice, Phil Barassa.
Yeah!
Our executive producer and the man who dedicates every living moment of his life to this, James Tucker. Our producer and director and resident Spurs fan, I still don't understand it, Sam Liu. You still here? Good. This guy was on set at 5 a.m. today, so if he falls asleep on the panel, forgive him, okay? From The Good Fight and Mike and Molly, our Martian Manhunter, Yummy Yummy. Any Constantine fans out there?
Yeah!
The live action show, you'll remember Chaz. Say hi to Charlie Halford, the Eradicator, and Bill Bukowski. I shudder to say the word Candyman. That's ourselves, Tony Todd. You're welcome, Tony. Okay, Better Call Saul. And there's a little independent film running around out there that you can find on Netflix and 40 other things, Driver X, that I highly recommend. Say hi to Patrick Fabian, our cyborg Superman. Where is he? There he is in the back with the fine cap. Black Lightning on live action TV. Steel tonight, Chris Williams. I know you guys watched The Librarians. I'm not allowed to mention those other films she was in. Some other studio where they kind of changed colors and faces and everything over and over again. But here she's our Lois Lane, Rebecca Romijn. Can't wait to see how he gets on stage. He dresses for every occasion.
Woo!
Carter from Bravo. From Stand By Me, Jerry Coltrano.
Jerry!
All right, so you kids are good. Later, you'll get the chance to ask questions, and everybody on stage sign one of these babies, and I'm going to give 5 of them away. So prepare good questions. We got one more person to introduce. One of the guys that were behind the actual comics, the full Death of Superman run. I want him to stand up. I want him to take a bow and definitely show your appreciation. Jerry Ordway. That's royalty in the house, guys. Okay. So let's jump to it. We're sharing microphones, so I will hand mine over to whoever wants to answer. But I know some of you actors were familiar with the comics before getting into this, and some of you might not have read them. I mean, I did over and over again. But can you tell us what your impressions were of the comic and how it translated to the film?
I think that it scratched all the itches, for me at least, personally. I know it was a very iconic run for me as a child. Getting to play Bibbo, and then the Eradicator was just like, it's like the hugest gift in the world. It's so amazing. And I think, you know, Death of Superman kind of ruined comic books for me for a minute. I saw, yes, all right, Gary, yes, yeah, it did. For a minute, I was like, how could they do this? How could they rip away this superhero that means so much to me? And so, like, Reign of Superman that run started coming out, and I was just like, I'm not even gonna read it. I don't even want to see Superman. They killed him, and then this all happened. Fast forward 20 some odd years later, and what I love about this film is how it's, in my opinion, it's a definitive Superman movie. Because you see all of the things that Superman's not. And in the same way, like a note of music is only due to the absence around it. Like, I feel like Superman is just so defined here, and I couldn't be happier to just like be on the stage with this amazing like talent and everybody. So thank you. I ended up being the comic book. Everybody looked at me like, you got James Tucker sitting.
It was directed at the actors, so I think that's why we
Oh, yeah, you guys got
killed it. Come on, that was amazing. I mean, how do you follow that?
Anyway.
Anybody else? We're done.
Well, you know, I also grew up a DC fan specifically, and I mean, I grew up an only kid. My aunt raised me. She would give me $2 a week to go get my 25-cent 80-page Giant comics. Yes. And those were my first scripts. So fast forward 30 years later, or so about, here we are, and to be able to like be part of this very talented ensemble. You guys are terrific, and the writers, directors, staff, creative team. This is brilliant. This is a dream come true. So I think I understand what you mean by the tingling sensation that here we are in the flesh, and this film will stand the test of history. So thank you guys. I just want to give a special shout out to the Millennium Art Academy, which is a special school up in the Bronx that we were able to give a couple of tickets for to come down. They came all the way out down there. You guys are great students. Keep it up. Tony brings a good point. This is an amazing cast up here. We don't even have all of everybody that know Nathan Fillion, or Rosario Dawson, Jason O'Mara, Chris Gorham. But we do have a phenomenal cast up here. I'm curious, y'all have seen the film now. Whose performance do you think was the best, if not yours?
I don't think you can go there. I think where you can go
Lois.
is, yeah, Lois, of course.
You're welcome.
You just saved me from getting a divorce. No, but you know what? All of our bosses are so great about, you know, it was fun seeing all the different Supermen, and when they mix the, you know, voices in. I mean, I can notice, I don't know if you all notice, but Patrick Fabian's voice comes in when he starts to attack Lois, and it's just, you know, after, when we did Death of Superman, I was a little nervous jumping into that territory, and then after I saw it at Comic-Con last year, I mean, I became so excited, especially for that last little teaser when we saw Cyborg Superman hurtling toward Earth. It's just these DC animation films are the best things out there right now. I mean, so funny, you were talking about the original source material. I wasn't nervous at all. I mean, I was so confident I bought a suit and hailed a cab. I was on the subway earlier like this. But yes, to answer your question, Lois is the best.
I'm gonna go with hippie Superman. I liked him. I thought he was hot, super hot. No, it's true. Being a part of the DCAU is like, the action is limitless. It's incredible how far they can go. And then this group of people, the fact that, I mean, I've only met most of you tonight for the first time, the fact that we all do this completely separately from one another is such a testament to the talent level between the writers and the filmmakers and these actors, that this comes together so well. I mean, it's really, my hat's off to all of you. It's incredible. Well done.
I think a shout out to Wes Gleason also. They said that, I was not a comic book kid at all. So I was blind. Like the whole death of Superman was people like, it's seminal, and blows right over my head. I had no idea. I was a band geek. I was president of the marching band. That's what my card-carrying geek card, I guess. So I came into this completely blind, and Wes Gleason was the booth director for me. And so to Rebecca's point, I didn't know how it functioned. I sort of assumed that there'd be like, at one point I thought, well, we'd all have microphones and we'd all be doing the scenes together. And that was not the case. And so I had to rely heavily on the beautiful script that Jim and Tim have written. And the scenes are great. And as an actor, to be able to work from something like anything, like a play or a movie or live television, if it's on the page, then it's a gift, and then you can work with it. And so the only thing I needed guiding with was, I was sort of solo. And so Wes would be there and help me out. And I think I've told this before, but when I'm getting punched and I'm punching back, I was very excited. I was very excited about doing that. And I started doing a couple of takes, and Wes clicks in. And he goes, "Easy, cowboy. We have an hour." So I relied on him a lot in order to make it work.
Good. Yeah.
I was more of an animation via cartoon guy. I was too poor to have comic books. Couldn't even get like a quarter. But to be a part of this, I mean, I grew up watching the Super Friends and
Yes.
later, the other company, and just so anything that was animated. And Superman actually was my favorite guy. So to be a part of this is amazing. And Wes was a saving grace because I'm kind of new to the voice world, and he just would steer you in the right direction and kindly let you know when you were in the wrong direction. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, same as me, and forgive me if I don't make sense. I'm on you right now. But I grew up reading comic strips, reading anything and everything I could out of the newspapers, as well as watching anything and everything cartoons. The TV show that was anything superhero, anything and everything. So every single animated film that DC has done, I've watched. So even the first go round of this story, which is a truncated version of this, and so it was really exciting to know that they were going to actually do something that would dive deeper, because it's a huge story. Is the original run of it. So to be a part of it is amazing, and then to actually have my voice be attached to such an iconic character amongst an ensemble of iconic characters as well, with these amazing actors, was just so surreal. And like you said, Wes Gleason was just amazing in the voice directing room, and then these guys as well. Seeing James Tucker, he's drawing Batman, just sort of like chilling in the back, and I draw as well, and just geeking out with these guys. It's just amazing. So a lot of fun.
Some of my favorite scenes are the poignant scenes, like the balcony scene and the like. Jim and Tim, what was it like scripting that out? And Rebecca and your dual men in that voice, what was it like for you guys to watch it come out on screen?
Well, what we wanted to do was make sure that not everybody knows this story. Not everybody grew up reading comic books, so we wanted to kind of create the illusion that maybe, we wanted to create the illusion that it could have been any of them, but especially that it would be Cyborg Superman. And so we wanted to do a kind of poignant scene where well, maybe it's him because he doesn't have all his memories. And so it's a little bit like the Frankenstein movies are, unlike Dracula you loathe and you fear, but Frankenstein, all these villagers are kind of being, kind of rude to him. And that's kind of the feeling we wanted from this. It's like, oh, we have sympathy.
Buy into it.
Yeah, you want to think just for a second, maybe it is him. And the voice acting in that scene is you really feel, oh, we've had people tweet us and say, I thought maybe for a second it was him, even though I read the original comic.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we were trying to do a couple of different things too. Like, you know, it was important to you know, buy that maybe Cyborg Superman is the real deal, and but it was also, that's a really important scene for Lois. It touches on all of the grief and you know, the process that she's going through, and I was terrified. I said, this is a live action scene in an animated movie. Like, are we you know, are we going to be able to really sell it? And it is the incredible artists, and that includes the incredible voice artists. Yeah, they just knocked it out of the park. We're blown away by it.
Thank you. I think Lois wants to believe so badly that it is him, and at the beginning, Soups and Lois are both incapacitated, really, and I think she really starts to find her strength there in her will to believe that he's still out there, and it's such an honor to play her, first of all, and it's such an honor to play the only non-superhero in the movie. Her superpower is truth seeker. She's a journalist, and uncovering the truth is where her power lies, and it's fun to really get to play that side of her, that badass side of her that comes out.
Filmmakers, directing, producing, writing, designing, what was your greatest challenge bringing this from comic to screen? Each individual.
You got the mic. Oh, wow. Greatest challenge, it all was a great challenge. Telling the story for a third time in 10 years was a huge challenge. Telling the story of this scope, trying to fit as much of the stuff that the fans remembered into the movie, yet having to take certain things out, of course, for time. Just so, the only reason we were going back for 2 movies was to put more of that stuff in. But we still had to make choices about what should go in, what shouldn't. And also to just not repeat ourselves, because again, there have been 2 versions of this story, and yeah, we wanted to make it resonate with people. We wanted to remind people why Superman is cool, why he means so much to our culture and all that, and tell a good story. So yeah, it's always challenging. This in particular was extra hard. Sam and I were not looking forward to diving into this, but I think once we did, we got really into it, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and we pulled out something that neither of the other movies have. So yeah, it was tough, but Sam told us.
I always feel bad talking because you know, a lot of my job is getting into the into the weeds and that type of stuff. There's so many things about this story. I mean, there's so many there's new characters. There's the plot that we're trying to tell, but then there's the relationships and there's the motivations. I think of almost every single character. It deserves moments and it deserves attention. So it was hard because it was just a lot, you know, and it's a emotional story. You know, there's I think multiple themes in this, but I think a lot of times, like when I'm, you know, when I get a script, you know, after working with James and the writers through it, it's like I try to see sort of like, okay, what's written and then really kind of what's underneath, you know, what's really happening. And in this one, you know, again, I thought it was a little bit simpler, but the more I kind of felt like we started building it, the more like specific it had to be built, because each moment was really important. And this is definitely one of the movies that I kind of feel like from top to bottom, like everybody contributed. You know, the more I read the script, the more I kind of felt like, okay, there's something there, right? And then it needed to be executed a certain way, like the rooftop scene. You know, I use that one as an example because again, it's this very complex, right? There's Lois, and then there's the person that may or may not be Superman, and then how does he, this Frankenstein-looking character, sound believable? You know, I mean, you're gonna have like this romantic dialogue between like somebody that looks like, you know what I mean, like a monster.
Yeah,
you know?
it needs to be very nuanced.
Right.
Yeah.
And so again, like Phil, I remember we talked about this before, just how the character needs to be done in a way where he can be sympathetic and not just like this crazy little monster that's, you know, saying these emotional things, you know. And then Jerry, you know, and how do you deliver it, you know, like if you sound too sappy, is it gonna come off weird, this half robot looking monster, you know, like why would you ever believe him, you know? And so again, all these things are very, very small, I think, like targets that just across the board, you know, I mean, I think just casting wise, it's so great because again, every character needed to really feel genuine in their part, you know, like Bibbo, you know, it needs to feel rough, but like a good, genuine man, you know? And so when Charlie delivers his lines or whatever, you feel that, you know, like Lois needs to be tough, resilient, but sensitive, and Rebecca just nails it, you know? Just all of Jerry, you know what I mean, he's just like, he is, I feel like just in general, like Superman, I'm sorry, I'm going on.
You directed it, man.
But like Superman is like the strongest, potentially most scary person in the world, right? Because if he gets angry, he can just destroy blocks. But he has this gentleness about him, you know, and Jerry's voice is perfect for that because you kind of honor him or you allow him because he's so gentle that you trust him, you know. And Yabi, again, even with Martian Manhunter, there's just this sort of authority, but this nobleness about it, you know what I mean? And a little bit of an alien. Yeah.
Still humor.
Go on. But there's a noble quality, you know what I mean? And it's kind of, I don't know. And Tony, of course, the key, you have to have presence, you know, and so, you know, he nails Darkseid, you know, that's his Darkseid, you know. And I'm sorry, we just got down the list, but like Cress, again, like Steel is just like, there's a gentleness and there's a heart to it, you know what I mean? And it's just like, he's going through something and he's going through it because he believes in Superman and he believes in what's right, you know. He is a reflection of Superman, you know. And Cyborg Superman, you know, the rage, you know, it's, you know, it's strange because, you know, you said you hadn't done voice work, this is your first voice work thing, but the anger and just the visceralness of it is, yeah, again, just from top to bottom, again, I only have good things to say about everybody that's worked on this, and
Which is not always the case.
It's true, because there's certain stories you go through and you're just like, there's no more plot, you know what I mean? It's just, I guess we just wrap it up because there's nothing else, you know, where this story, I kind of felt like, you know, I wish we had another 15, 20 minutes or whatever to delve deeper. And I've said enough, so shut up.
Well, I think Sam nailed it right there. I mean, I think, you know, what he's talking about too, we can all relate to it. Like, the big challenge with this project is the level of nuance. There's like subtlety to the performances and there's subtlety to the storytelling that I think we had to work it out. We had to really make sure the blueprint was sound because, like he said, you know, building off of what Jim and Tim were talking about as well, that rooftop scene, I think we all go back to that. And if that didn't play right, then none of it works, you know what I mean? Like, even comic book fans that know the story, I feel like, even having known the story, and having had the script, right, I had to still be able to buy that like, maybe there is some chance, right? And I think that that's about subtlety of performance and this, like, you know, very nuanced, like, presentation, which is difficult to pull off. Like, it can easily be clumsy, and
you know, for myself as a designer, I mean, I have the best job in the world. Like, if I'm off track, I lean on James, because not only is he a brilliant storyteller, but he's got like the DC database in his like, cortex, right? So, like, I just get to draw the coolest stuff every day I go into work, and it's like, you know, bucket list stuff, right? But when you have a character like Cyborg Superman, and that's like the crux of this very pivotal character that a lot of like the narrative and emotional sort of stuff hangs on, again, it could have come off really, you know, clumsy if we didn't get that right with the, like for me, I'm creating a blueprint for the storyboard artists and the animators to follow. If the performances are not, like if the performance of the animators doesn't match the way, you know, our amazing voice talent, like we missed the mark. So for me, it's creating a blueprint that like allows the talent to come through, because that's really all I'm doing. I'm there to just provide like something that, you know, like a puppet that the puppeteers can manipulate. And so that's the challenge from my sort of lane, which is a very, you know, specific lane. And I think it's interesting how all of us kind of gravitate or end up talking about that scene, because I think so much hangs on that. And it is a perfect example, like Sam was saying, of all of these different disciplines coming together to sort of coalesce and create, you know, this illusion. And even if you know the story, like I know the story, but I bought it. I bought into that moment, and I'm like, you know, this guy's saying all the right things, and I believe it because the performances, whether it be our great voice cast or the amazing animators who I have to give it up to, like, because all we're doing is setting it up for them to succeed, but they still have to bring it home, you know. And that's a huge part of what we all do, is we all, like, you know, try to create avenues and lanes for the other people that are, you know, it's like a relay race, like you're handing the baton and you're just trying to give the person that you're handing it to the best possible advantage so they can get their part done and make it all work together. And that's why, you know, what Sam and James do is like really make sure that we're all on the right track and working in unison to create this illusion.
We all sort of work as a support system for James's vision. But at the same time, we have our own support systems at home, like our families, and my wife here is in the audience.
Are we doing wife shout-outs?
No. When I asked my wife, okay, so if I died and I was replaced by 4 handsome, you know, replicants of me, you know, what would that mean to you, and how do we apply that to the stories?
Right.
And, you know, who would you want to be the real me? And strangely, she said the Eradicator, which I thought was weird.
Brutal one.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk to her later. So many questions.
We talk so much about that balcony scene, and it's so interesting. I think that the third act, when you see Cyborg Superman and Lois Lane on the Watchtower, it's such a completely different scene between the two of them, and the choices that you guys made, that fisheye on Cyborg Superman when he just lives in Patrick Fabian, just incredible. Those two, that's the whole movie. It all hinges on those two things working.
And I want to just shout out, like, your department, Phil, and the animators. Like, the animated acting outside of the voice talent is like awesome. As a comic fan, it scratched all those itches. I was telling some people in the press line earlier about some of my first experiences, like, with an actor brain, was looking at panel art, getting a mood, seeing what they're saying in the speech bubble, and then seeing what they're thinking in the thought bubble.
Right.
And you guys do that with like just an eyebrow raise or an eye roll or something.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's so good.
Animation is the art of economy, so you have to strip away all the tools and figure out how to do it in the most streamlined way, and that it forces you to lose all the fat in your process. You know what I mean? Not necessarily here, but tends to add. But yeah, it really forces you to find that through line and find the most streamlined approach to your process. And you know, shout outs to our storyboard team, like that Sam, you know, brilliantly directs through all of these challenges, and they're creating, like me, they're creating a blueprint for yet another team of talented people to follow. You know,
And at any point in the process, we've all been through so many of these projects, and we make them work, and James always brings it home and stuff, but it's like, it's a miracle that these things turn out as well as they do, because there's so many places where it can fall apart. We've had everything you can imagine happen on a production, people getting sick, and things that can just derail stuff. And so like we're, to some extent though, we go in with a plan. You know what they say about like, a plan, never succeeding against the attack of the enemy. Like you have that sort of strategy to go in, but then it can go straight to hell in any number of ways when you really are faced with the challenges or the obstacles of the actual production. So we definitely have to give props to all of our collaborators and all the people that kind of carry us through these challenges.
But we could sit here and congratulate ourselves
Yeah.
and each other all day. Would anyone else like to congratulate?
Yeah.
We got about 14 minutes to go. Anybody out there got questions? All right. I will call on you. You will yell your name. You will yell out your questions so everybody here can hear you. So, gentleman in the front, in the middle with the glass.
My name is David. My name is David. I actually teach a high school graphic novel course, and one of the things I tell my kids always before we start reading a novel, because I know they will always do this, don't go straight to watching the movie thinking you're going to get everything you need to know, because sometimes the source material might not be exactly portrayed on the screen. So my question to all of you as actors, producers, and writers, how do you guys know, okay, we need to use this amount of original source, but how do you guys also know when to put your own spin on it, put your own originality on it? And God, I wish I got a picture of this.
Well, first of all, I have to say that what a weird world where a high school student won't read a comic book, but will go to the movie instead because they're too lazy to read a graphic novel. It's terrifying.
Well, I think it is interesting though, because you're adapting something from one medium to the next, right? So I think we all probably have experienced it. Like what we do, especially like with Warner Brothers Animation, is on this crew, we adapt the DC library, right? And so you have to go into it with a healthy reverence and respect for the tradition, and you have to understand the sort of the overall themes and the important sort of cornerstones of the story that you need to hit. But it's not going to be a one-to-one adaptation. You need to make concessions to the medium. We're the film medium, so things need to be streamlined to fit. We don't have 70 years of comic book continuity that we can necessarily lean on. That it needs to be a standalone piece. So, and I know James and Sam can speak to this, and Jim and Tim as well. It's like we're trying to be reverent to the source material, and in the case of these movies that James and I have been doing for, I don't know, 6-7 years now, this continuity, we need to organically weave these themes and these arcs into the narrative and the continuity that we've established. So while being respectful to the material, like allowing it to organically fit into this world that we've created. There's certain things that need to be left out to make it work.
What Phil said. We have 72 minutes, give or take, and it comes down to math, really. Like, what has to stay in? What essential part of this story? And you break it down into themes. A lot of times comic books, because especially this story, covered a lot of different characters. There were multiple issues, different books had different continuities. Well, they were all one continuity, but they all were telling micro stories within it. And there was no way to translate that, to 72 minutes. But, we boiled down what is the heart of this story, what matters, what did fans feel they were missing from the earlier interpretation. And then, it just becomes a process of elimination. I mean, the main thing about everything artistic, it comes down to editing. That's what makes or breaks. It's the crap you leave in that sucks is what people are going to see. The crap you take out, you really have to weed out what works. and make that come to the top. So it's editing.
One of the themes that we latched onto early in the process was the idea that, you know, this, in a lot of ways, this story is about what it means to be a hero. And each of the 4 Supermen are all the product of a technological shortcut to becoming Superman. And when we identified that, and so there's a lot you can do with that, with those characters, but the brilliant James and Sam said, you know, but how do we bring that out even more? How do we show how it affects the people of Metropolis and the people of the world? And I think that's sort of where you were asking about, sort of where we add our own sort of thing. Well, we were taking a theme that was in the story, but we amplified it a little bit and made it personal for the people, the citizens of Metropolis, in that those citizen cyborgs that, you know, everyone becomes. And you know, that's it's tough. It's a scary proposition. You don't want to feel like you're messing with the original source material. You want to feel like you're bringing something out of it and putting it on a stage for everyone to see.
Okay, really quick, where did you get the suit?
I got it from Krypton, dude. My dad gave me this to wear it down on Earth, bro. I got it. I got it on the internet.
Okay, young lady, right in the middle there.
Yeah, come on. Everybody remember Donahue?
My name is Johanna, and I have a question for Rebecca and Jerry. What was it, what was it like working together, and did it feel like you do together on a normal day?
Good question. Good question.
Well, we do all of our voiceovers completely separate. We're all alone in the sound booth when we do it. And so it's not like Jerry and I were at home running lines together or working out these scenes. I practically had, when I was doing my side of the scenes, I had to sort of guess how Jerry might be playing his side. And it's just amazing how it comes together. We have daughters. How old are you, Johanna?
9.
9. We have 10-year-old daughters. And did you see The Death of Superman? It was, no. I know. It's a little graphic.
When you're a little older.
When you're a little older, our daughters cried when they saw it. We're terrible parents.
No, we have a lot of fun working with each other. It's there's a cadence, there's a fun sort of added little twist we can add to the relationship, and that's, as an actor, that's really what you look for. You know, is there a moment of vulnerability that I can latch onto? Is there a little something extra we can add to the relationship? And we really look for that, and it's there. And I think it really, I think it's why these last few films have been so elevated. I mean, it's just, you know, these scripts come in amazing. We get great direction, there's great design with all the characters. The fight scenes are amazing. And it just really elevates everything. It's really fun.
I remember when we were casting, we already had you as Superman. We were trying to figure out who might have good chemistry with you. Bingo. All right.
By the way, I also want to say, the really fun thing about this film is that, you know, it is the reign of the Superman, but it's a Lois Lane movie.
Yeah.
I mean, and the world needs a Lois Lane movie. It's super cool.
All right, I'm going back of the house out there.
All right, back row, here we go. Yes. Oprah. You get a copy of the DVD, and you get a copy of the DVD.
Thank you, hi, Joaquin Espino. I want to ask you, Mr. William, Mr. Todd, and I forgot your name, Sean, sorry.
That's fine. You got it right.
Which character in the DCAU would you like to play?
All right. Well, I already played Black Lightning, so that's cool. But I've kind of always been drawn to Jon Stewart. I've loved to emulate that a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I also have had the good fortune of playing some favorites, Bibo being one of them, and Chaz in Constantine for the Hellblazer. I don't know if that's DCAU, I guess, but I'm excited. Yeah, I'm just like happy to be playing, but I'm happy that they're making a Swamp Thing and the DC universe, right? I got nothing to do with that, but that's a cool character, right? And that's a good one.
Anybody else you want to play? Anybody? You played what?
Captain Marvel.
Nightwing.
Nightwing. Adam. That was a lot of fun, Adam. We had a lot of fun with that. But I mean, once you're at the top, I mean, come on. I don't want to say this is demotion, but I mean, come on. Really? Gary, you want me to go back?
No, I don't.
Isn't that a step backward? I mean.
I love you where you are.
All right, woman in the third row over there.
All right, here we go. Yes. Need Chris Gorham for this. He did the flash joke. Watch this talk show.
I love to see such a diverse crowd up here, but as a woman, it's not diverse to me at all. I know you guys made like 58 Wonder Woman movies, but I'd love to see some more female, like led characters, not where I know this is the Lois Lane movie, but she's just like, yo, Superman, you're amazing, oh my god. Like, let's get like a woman who's
That's a fair
Well, just so you know, without revealing anything, there are other female superhero-led DTVs in the works. But also, I actually don't think Lois says, "Oh, Superman saved me" in this movie.
Nope.
She's the main character of this movie. It's the first thing that Tim and I decided. She's a detective in this movie. She's the.
She actually saves him, actually.
She's not only the emotional core of the movie. She actually drives the forward emotion of the story.
But you do have a point,
Yeah,
and we're working on it.
Yeah, not
So thank you.
But yeah, James and I worked on, the Vixen shorts, which became a movie. So it's a valid point that there does need to be more, progress made in that direction. And everyone up here, I think, is a fan of that.
It is. It's a valid point, especially when you're adapting stuff from stories that were from a time when people were not thinking in terms of diversity and trying to get. So, there's a lot of challenges there when we're doing that, but we always can do better.
Progress to be made.
I'll tell you, one of the things when we sat down to do that scene with Lois and Wonder Woman, all I kept saying through that process was like, this can't be a scene about two female characters in this movie pining over the man that they lost.
Yeah.
And so that's why the scene is really about Lois figuring out, being reminded by Diana that her superpower is her voice, and that she needs to get out and use it, and she's going to be able to get to the bottom of it. That was something that we really felt strongly about through that. But we can always do better.
Yeah, absolutely. And more women filmmakers too.
Yeah.
I thought Lois did pretty well for. I thought Lois did pretty well for not having any superpowers whatsoever.
Okay, not a reporter, put your hands down. There you go. Reporters, put your hands down. Who's not going to ask a question that pisses us all off? All right, I say back corner over there.
Back corner. Remember to say your name.
And here we go. And Marcus, how you guys doing? Just wanted to really ask you guys what it felt like to step up as your characters in the absence of Superman, and did any of you guys have to personally put yourselves in the shoes of your characters to step up when Superman was gone?
Pretty cool question.
I'm not sure what you mean.
So as your characters,
Gary, get out there. Get out there.
So, like we have Steel, me and Superboy's not here, but I mean, you guys,
you know, essentially just all stepped up as, I mean, not like Cyborg Superman. He was definitely, bad. More like Steel or like Eradicator. Like, what was it like for you guys to embody what you thought the S meant for your character?
I guess I'll take it. I think you nailed it. You just try to embody the essence of the character. I had a feeling of Eradicator, and I had the knowledge that he was not from this planet, and he hadn't associated with many things or people outside of Superman occasionally when he dropped by, and those robots that take care of the place. And so once he gets out in the world, it was more of an exercise of kind of really trying to refine what it is that Superman does when he's in action without all the human nonsense. So I don't know what that says to my process, but I just tried to, get the essential oils of Eradicator. I don't know. Hopefully that is close. Are there any other Superman up here?
Well, you said I was badass. That's good enough.
Yeah, good
Where do you want me to go, Garrett?
Yeah, good.
Right up here, sir.
Hi, my name is Richard, and my question's for you, Jerry. So you've played Superman a number of times, and what makes your Superman different in your own?
Let me slowly walk up to the document. The first few times I did it, I read everyone's comments, and I know they say not to do that, but I did. And people really, what I gathered, was people really wanted to see a difference between Clark and Superman, and in the case of this film, the different Supermen. And so I try to make a conscious decision and effort to just tweak them and to make it noticeable without being too on the nose.
I thought that was a fine answer.
Oh, good.
We have room for one more question. Don't ask, and we need to get out of here in like a minute. So, okay, right there with the,
Jerry, you want somebody else? Jim? No, you're good. You're good.
No, go.
No, I just want to make sure you're okay.
I'm great.
He's Superman.
There's no kryptonite here.
My name is Derek Upright. This is a question for all the actors. Rebecca and I think some of the others mentioned that they were alone in a room. How difficult is that, especially when you're used to live action, being surrounded by a cast?
For me, I have to say, I found that I can still be capable of overacting all by myself. It was a rather humbling experience.
I'm still getting used to being in the recording studio all alone because, I come into theater, so I really need that rehearsal period, being able to look in somebody's eyes, hearing what they're doing. So that being said, the fact that you guys can still, with that lack of modulation and isolation, still make it seem like we're actually engaging with each other is a testament to the work.
And we really rely on Wes so much, all of us. I mean, we just completely depend on him, and it's fun to break it down beat by beat and offer up 3 different versions and say, which direction should I go in? Because you can get really playful with it. So it's a different type of acting, but it's really fun, actually. I love it.
Well, I mean, seeing it for the first time, I was a little frightened because I didn't know how it was going to really come off because you're doing these isolated beats and multiple times, and you're just like, okay, I hope that works once they put it all together. And it was a scene. Like you could see people. It was interaction. It was great because it is odd to not have someone. I think for me, it's like I kind of get a little schizophrenic at home and reading lines back and forth and just.
Schizophrenic enough. We don't need any extra.
But I think we would all prefer to be, interacting with one another, so it's a bit foreign.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of technical things that you have to navigate through, and then of course, doing your job as the actor as far as breaking it down and doing all that, whatever. But then at the end of the day, is being able to let all that go and then say, you know what, I've been doing this in some capacity since I was 2, 3, 4 years old, you know.
Since you were
just sort
born?
of, like playing
Since
around.
birth?
Yeah, since birth. But using my imagination and playing in that way. And so it's fun, especially when you get to come back and do the ADR and see the actual animation happening in front of you. That's when it's like it's the coolest thing, you know. Like in Death of Superman, when he's when Martian Manhunter he thinks well, I feel like I'm on fire, and to do the scream and see it was like the most it was the most awesome thing to actually, you know, to do, to play. You get to play.
Yeah,
it's fun.
All right. A big round of hands for a round of applause. When we're done, I need David, Mara, Marcus, Richard, and Derek over here. Quick reminders. One, you can get this on digital right now. Reign of the Superman, still on digital for the rest of our lives. We can get it anywhere you want it. Are any DC Universe subscribers here? You can get that tomorrow. I love Young Justice! Watch it on there. You can buy it on Blu-ray, on 4K, and everything else you could ever hope for. All tomorrow. In the meantime, I want you to say thank you to Kim Sheridan, Jim Freed, Phil Marassa, James Tucker, Sam Liu, Yumby, Charlie Halford, Tony Todd, Patrick Fabian, Russ Williams, Rebecca Romaine, and the best man, dressed man in Manhattan, Jerry O'Connell. Thanks everybody, we'll see you again.